legal risk, liability to COVID-19 lawsuits. What are Arizona's laws regarding paid sick leave? That's our topic today on Be in the Know Marketing. Hi, I'm your host, Jody Liller with Liller Design Works. Our guest today is Mark Olson, a partner in the Davis, Miles, McGuire, and Gardner firm, one of Arizona's best law firms as ranked by U.S. News. Mark, welcome back. As a business owner, am I required to pay for sick leave for COVID-related
Generally
absences?
speaking, and I can say I don't have all the information for this. I have some of the information for this. If they are sick with COVID or they are treating someone with COVID, then basically there is actually a new federal law that under certain circumstances, and I can't cite those off the top of my head, again, called the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, or FFCRA, that actually requires employers to provide a certain amount of paid sick leave for that, for those particular instances that are coronavirus related. Now, there is also a program that goes along with that where an employer can apply for reimbursement. So essentially, the federal government is paying that sick leave in order to fill the COVID gap. If you generally don't provide sick leave, a lot then comes down to what your employment contract, if anything, says. Right now, basically, Arizona is what's called a right to work state, or an at-will employment state, which means that anyone can be fired, demoted, terminated for any reason or no reason at any time. And that includes having your benefits reduced if they are not already provided, or if they're not required under federal law. And if a company is not already providing sick leave and not required to under the Fair Labor Standards Act, then ultimately nothing about COVID-19 other than the Families First Coronavirus Response Act requires sick leave. Beyond that, though, realize that if there is a contract for employment that allows for or provides for sick leave, or if the denial of sick leave is considered in violation of a statute, or in retaliation for holding an employer to compliance with a law, then that could be very problematic. And in those situations, there are two. One is, of course, the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. A company cannot deny an employee's eligibility for that if the company happens to be covered by that. And much like the Family Medical Leave Act, there are certain requirements regarding the nature of the employment, whether it's full-time or part-time, the size of the company, how many employees, et cetera. And of course, that the treatment or that the absence and the leave be related to COVID treatment, either for oneself or one's family. There has to be an active effort to seek diagnostic assistance or treatment for COVID, either by the employee or by someone in the employee's household, for example. In which case, again, I would advise companies to be mindful of that and be compliant with that. The other area is, you might not have to pay them for this, but if an employee considers it unsafe to go to work because of COVID exposure, and particularly if an employee has risk factors that would enhance the danger of COVID, a history of autoimmune or lung ailments or heart issues, so on and so forth, this hasn't been officially established, but there is a potential to argue that requiring them to go into a workplace that can't employ social distancing measures, or that can't employ precautions in accordance with the guidelines that are out there, particularly by the CDC, by the Department of Labor, by OSHA, and by in Arizona, the Arizona Industrial Commission, that the workplace is a hazardous area, and there might actually potentially be OSHA or Arizona equivalent implications for requiring an employee to work in a hazardous setting. And so I would be mindful of that risk as well. Again, the law has not been fully developed there, And the risk of that is a big reason why there is a push, a lobbying push at both the federal and state level to shield establishments and employers from liability for COVID exposure. But until that's successful, this question remains somewhat of an uncertainty.
Mark, that was so informative. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your expertise and educating us about the coronavirus and relation to liability.
I am one of those folks that have underlying risk factors with COVID. Take care.
Throughout the coronavirus crisis, Mark continues to help businesses with local and state guidances. If you want to see more episodes of Be in the Know Marketing, join us on our Facebook page, Liller Design Works. Hey guys, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at beintheknowmarketing.com. That's all one word, no spaces. Stay safe, be well, and stay in the know. Jody Liller with Liller Design Works. See you soon.